Hello again. So this time I want to talk about ellipses. If you have a lisp, a little hard to say ellipse. I have a little lisp. Ellipses. Take a look at this box. Notice how if you were looking down at the box, you see quite a bit of the top of the box. As that box gets up higher and higher towards the horizon, which is probably getting closer around here, you actually no longer see the top of the box. You just see a straight line. And in fact, eventually, if you go beyond the horizon, you start to see the bottom of the box. So it's the same with ellipses. If you look at this straight on, it's a circle. But as I tilt this, it becomes elliptical. So much so that eventually when I'm holding this around the horizon, when it becomes completely level, you can't, echo. If you can't, it becomes completely, you can't actually see the top of it. This is a nice point of view. But ellipses are very hard to draw. We'll deal with this again when we do grid perspective and linear perspectives. To draw an ellipse, now if I wanted to draw an ellipse as a circle, if I link the corners of a square like this, like that, and then if this becomes the halfway point, right? They'll cross across here, cross here, and the center is the halfway point. So now I can draw a straight line parallel to the top and bottom, and a straight line parallel to each side, straight down the middle. Now I know that this is more or less, this is in fact halfway between here and here. I can then describe a curve like this. Turn it around. And you can see that I've basically described a pretty good, from this arrangement, I can now describe a pretty good circle. So if I can draw a circle flat by this method, looking straight on it like this, I can do the same thing with an angle like that to create an ellipse. And I hope now you can see the elliptical shape. The stretched circle is the ellipse. We'll deal more with ellipses later. So if I was, for example, drawing this box, now from your point of view, this is my point of view, your point of view may not be quite the same. I can see just a sliver of this side of the box. I've already drawn it, I've measured angles and proportions. So if I want to create a circle on the top of this, as you can see on the box, here it is, and I want to get it elliptical, all I need to do is cross these lines here like that. This is the halfway point. Now, these lines will, if I've measured correctly, should converge back to the horizon. So I kind of want to bring this one through in the middle. We'll deal with this more when we, and the same this way when we do grid perspective. But you can see that I'm basically running this line through the middle like that. So I've now got this same arrangement here, but stretched out, foreshortened in perspective that I have here. And now all I need to do is again describe a curve. Now I usually start with a little, hope you can see this, I mark these little bits here. The circle should just, it should just touch the edge. It takes a little bit of winging to describe it around. And voila, I have that ellipse pretty much drawn on my drawing from that point of view. And of course, if I wanted to do it here, let's do it one more time. This will be a little easier when we are working from doing grid perspective, linear perspective on a grid. However, there we have it again. We have, if there's a circle on the side, we have these two ellipses. Let's do it one more time. I'll just wing it here. There. Here. This is completely plumb. This one angles between the two, like this. And this one is really foreshortened. And there you have an ellipse there. There's nothing more annoying in looking at a still life on a table and just seeing all the ellipses off. Not because they were deliberately off. It's not as if the artist actually knew how to do an ellipse. Sometimes you'll get an artist that knows how to do an ellipse, distort things. But it's obvious when somebody doesn't know what they're doing. If I were drawing, here's the still life. If I were drawing an arrangement, see these two jars, I've already started this, but basically it's really important, for me at least, that this look correct. And of course, in the same way that, this is lower, this ellipse is lower, so it's more circular, and this ellipse is higher, so it becomes this is more elliptical than this one. This one is less elliptical because you're looking down on it more. It's lower on the picture plane. And if I get those ellipses fairly accurately, you can see that I had to do a lot of erasing and fudging and muddling around. If I get them fairly accurately, it can look fairly convincing. See here how I actually imagine, it's almost as if I'm imagining the pot on a lathe, on a spindle, and that it might have turned on. And the same with this one. You can see there's a residue of a line there. I'm imagining it on a spindle to get my head around the form that I'm seeing. Ellipses are useful for cars. Here I've sketched up a kind of a little car thingy. When it comes time to do the wheels, now I can just wing it, but doesn't it annoy you when you see somebody that should know what they're doing and the wheels are all wonky? It's great if it's a cartoon maybe, but if you want to get the wheels, I know I want the wheels somewhere in here. I want the top here. There's somewhere in this little area. So I've got a square here. Look at that square. Erase it here momentarily. I've got a square here. I cross the corners. This is all in a box. The thinking in the box. It's good to think in the box. I've imagined. I've got the car in perspective by drawing it in a box in perspective, and then I have to follow these lines back. Now I can draw the wheel as an ellipse. This is coming back here. There's the bottom of the tire. There's the top of the tire. And I'll just wing this here, but there's the hubcap inside. But it's fairly accurate. One more time, we'll do it on the back. And there's the rear wheel on the car. And it looks fairly convincing, as if it's on the ground. And I can do a little bit of erasing to tidy things up. And put a bit of a shadow down. And you know, those wheels look fairly convincing and flat. Now keep in mind, each time I do these little demos, I'll try and give you some little anecdotes and stuff about drawing in general. This is really rough and scribbly. People who draw for a living love the rough scribbly stuff. I mean, I remember the animators in animation would love the really rough drawings. They would actually collect them. Much better than the clean drawings. But I mean, if you were designing something for a comic book or an illustration or a painting, you'll do your rough drawings and it'll all be rough. But what you can do is take a piece of tracing paper and lay it on top and clean the drawing up. And if it was a comic, then you might ink that, ink that tracing paper and erase the light pencil line. This is essentially a working drawing. I love working drawings because, I don't particularly love this, but in general I love working drawings because you can see the process of thinking. There's a kind of an authenticity to it, and I'll mention this again later on. It's one reason I like student drawings, because people are focusing on drawing and looking and seeing, and they're not trying to look clever or slick. So the drawing is extremely authentic. And this kind of observational drawing is something that can keep your drawing real, keep it authentic, keep it, like going life drawing, for example, where you're giving a time limit to draw a figure as quickly as possible. It stops you getting slick and clever, and it's just pure observation and response, connecting the eye, the mind, and the hand. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to ellipses, and we will look at them again later on.